Hi, I'm Irene Sacalata with Osprey Photo Workshops and Tours. This is part 4 in a series of programs on wildlife photography. In part 3, I discuss lighting in terms of its color and quality. This time I'm going to talk about the direction of light. I avoid shooting at noon with bright sunlight. The light's harsh with undesirable dark shadows. So I'm going to talk about 3 different other types of light: front, side, and backlight. When the light is coming from behind you and hitting your subject directly, you have front light. That's what we have here. You can see details in the feathers. You can see the texture of the bird's legs. It is a two-dimensional picture. However, it's still effective. You've got a lot of detail in the picture, and you have a nice highlight in the eye. These oyster catchers were also lit by front light. I didn't have a choice in terms of where I placed the camera because I didn't want to disturb the birds. The image may be two-dimensional, but I'm still happy with it. I love the bird's activity. And later in this series of presentations or talks, I'll discuss how to capture such images and how to anticipate such action. At dawn, when the sun is just peeking above the horizon, the sun skims surfaces. In this case, it's skimming the surface of a sandy beach, revealing shadows and depressions, texture, and my favorite thing, the turtle tracks of this little baby turtle. Side light is usually considered more interesting and engaging than front light. It breathes life into the images. It reveals shadows, internal gradients. It makes the subject look three-dimensional. If you would look at this picture, you would see that the feathers between the bill of this ibis seem to be jumping off the page. Side light also accentuates texture, and you can see that in the neck of this particular ibis. Shortly after sunrise, the warm early morning side light hit this bird, and it ended up resulting in a very unique image of a great blue heron. Side light clearly showed this bald eagle's feathers in slight disarray, perhaps after preening. You can see that they're lifted because of the shadows underneath the feathers. The same thing occurs with this roseate spoonbill. You can see that the feathers are fluffed. On the ram, you can see the ridges and the roughness of their horns because of the side light that's hitting them. We'll talk about backlighting next. We're going to talk about hair light. For instance, with this bear, we have hair light when the light passes through the fur on the edges of his ears. You can also have rim light, where the light traces the outline of a subject and separates the subject from its background, such as we have here with the pronghorn. I particularly like this picture. It was taken near dawn. You have beautiful golden light hitting the grasses behind the pronghorn. In the case of the titmouse, the side light shows its shape and also gives you some indication of the tuft on the top of his head. I waited until the fox walked into the shaft of golden light before taking this picture. The light was filtering down through the trees at sundown, and it creates a beautiful, beautiful golden light around the edges of the fox. The backlighting in this case of this little snowy egret shows the delicate plumes. Side lighting in the case of the puffin, it's rim light. It shows the outline of the puffin, it shows the bill shape, and the light almost passes through the puffin's bill. And we're going to talk about that kind of light next. In the case of these terns, we have light passing through the wings and their bill. In the case of the snowy egret, we also have light passing through the wings, and also we have a little bit of rim light on the bill and also on the neck of the bird. In the case of these snow geese, this picture was taken in Bosco Apache. It was taken right at dawn, and the beautiful golden light from the dawn shines on the birds as they head out into the fields to feed. In the case of the Rio Grande turkey we have here, he's strutting, and it's a very dramatic picture, and it wouldn't have been that dramatic if the light was different. Silhouettes. You got to have a lit background, something colorful like water, sky, sand, snow. Subject needs to be recognizable by its outline alone. You can see that this is a heron. You can also tell that's a small fish. Also, you need the subject to be separated from other unlit areas. In other words, he walks forward, what's going to happen? He's going to blend into that dark shadow there and he's going to disappear. So we don't want our subjects to merge into shadows. And that's what we have here with these ducks. We have a number of ducks together, but it just looks like a clump. You can't tell them individually. And also they disappear into the grasses. The heron below is silhouette at sunrise. The sunrise light warms the water. It gives you beautiful reflections, and the bird does not blend in with the surroundings. In terms of the bighorn sheep, they're on a ridge in South Dakota Badlands. Being on a ridge, you can see their legs all the way down to their hooves. In the case of the image above, however, the bighorns were lower on the rim. They were lower down, and you lose the sense of the full leg of the animals. The penguins, I had to shoot them from ground level. In other words, I was laying on my belly to shoot them because I did not want the bottom of the penguins to blend in with the land below them. And there is an example of what might happen if that had been the case. In the picture below, you don't always have to have sunrise or sunset to take a beautiful silhouette picture. These are mule deer, and it was taken in the blue hour, twilight after sundown, so you have this beautiful blue background. When pointing the camera at the sun, when it's just above the horizon, look for unwanted flare spots, bright spots in the image that are caused by light bouncing around between the lens elements or between the lens and the filters. How do you get rid of it or try to minimize it? Use your lens shade. Stand in a shadow that shades the lens. Hold something over the lens, sometimes a jacket. I've used an umbrella before. Block the sun with something in the image, for instance, some kind of object. In this case, we have some haze that helps prevent the flare spots from showing up, and also tree line. Heavily overcast skies, not my favorite. Ugly gray skies, ugly water. Usually you end up with duller colors, subjects blending into the background, flat appearance in the image. You have less light, so you get slower shutter speeds. And so if you have moving subjects, they're going to be blurred. I like images that have a touch of sunlight. In the case of this widgeon, that touch of sunlight revealed the iridescent green feathers on its head. That light also allowed me to use faster shutter speed, so I could freeze motion. I could freeze the sense of those bubbles when he's feeding, and also the ripples in the water. If you look at the other picture, we had gray sky, gray water, and a very dull image. I have a touch of sunlight with these images as well. The light brings out the colors in the heads of the ducks. It also brings out beautiful reflections in the water that come from the sky. In the case of the ibis doesn't look dark and kind of plain. I used to think that's where they were, but until the sunlight hits them like this, now you can see that that's not the case. They have some iridescent feathers, they have some rose color, they have some green, they have multicolors of iridescent feathers, particularly in breeding season. Black subjects or dark subjects are particularly difficult to photograph. Without a touch of sunlight to show highlights on the fur, bill, or feathers, they appear flat. So I'm looking for those highlights when I'm looking at a black subject. I may have to wait till the subject moves to catch those, or maybe I'm going to have to move. In the case of both of those ducks, we have some highlights that show detail in the black. In the case of the horse, I know it's not wildlife, it's a Frisian horse, but it's a gorgeous horse. It is black, and yet those wonderful sunlight highlights show a variation of colors in the fur of this horse. I seldom use flash. However, it was an overcast, kind of misty, rainy day. I didn't have a choice. I used fill flash off to the side to catch the brilliant iridescent feathers of this hummingbird as it reacted to the approach from another hummingbird. I would have not had this interesting and stupendous picture. They're just gorgeous birds. Okay, that ends my discussion on light. I'm going to talk about exposure later. I'm going to talk about composition. That's going to be the next topic. I'm going to talk about locating subjects, anticipating action, being able to get shots like I got with those oyster catchers, the behavioral shots. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you'll come back. I hope you got some good ideas, some food for thought. I hope you go to my website that's listed below. There you can sign up for my newsletter that comes out about every 2 months. You can take a look at my schedule for photo workshops in the fall and summer. And also, you can take a look at my blog. The blogs have information on photography on various topics, and you might enjoy reading them. Thank you very much for attending. I hope you come back again. Again, the next program is going to be on composition. So see you later.